Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to Mel's TV. I'm so happy you've come to join me and to watch my video series all about how to stop comfort eating or binge eating. I am going to share with you tip number 6 of this video series. If you haven't met me before, I am Mel and I am an eating mindset coach and eating disorder and weight loss rapid transformational therapist. I help people to break free from dieting, lose weight naturally, and help people learn how to truly enjoy eating healthily whilst being indifferent to foods that make you unhealthy and sick. Today, like I mentioned in the last video, is probably the most powerful tip that I'm going to share with you, and it's really not in the status quo. This is not what you get taught when you're dieting. It's got nothing to do with how to eat, calculating calories, nothing to do with eating at all, in fact, on how to measure your food. This is the most powerful mind hack I will share with you, and I actually discovered this mind hack in my drug taking days when I was a little bit of a druggie. So I don't mind confessing to that now because I now live to tell the story. But if you've ever been around in the 90s and you were like, the kind of the normal person, and you were in the house party or clubbing era where like acid was taken or ecstasy or things like that, you'll probably be familiar with the term riding the waves. So basically, if you've never taken drugs before, so I'm just going to try and explain to you what that feels like quite simply. So basically, when you're intoxicated with drugs, it could be like alcohol, but it's more like drugs that you feel it. Back in the day, I know that if you fought against the feelings of the drugs taking effect in your body, it could actually increase the effects of the drugs. And unfortunately, when I was taking drugs back in the 90s, late 90s, 1992, around that, happy hardcore days, there had been some incidents where kids, I'm saying kids, but people late teens, early 20s were being hospitalized or even had fatal accidents because when they started to feel the effects of the drugs, instead of riding the waves, which I'm about to share with you, they panicked. You know what happens when you start panicking? Your whole body seizes, you stop breathing, all those effects. And that is what happens when you're taking drugs. It kind of heightens, multiplies that feeling, and unfortunately there had been some incidents around that. So, but the positive side, I actually learned how to ride the waves, and people who naturally love taking drugs knew how to do it, but I had to teach myself because I was like tiny, really small. I didn't really want to miss out. So and basically this technique is the same technique I used to eventually stop my eating disorder on the spot. And it took days, for literally going 22 years of dieting on all sorts of fad diets. Force of the pull towards binging was just overwhelming. But this tip was the only thing that stopped my eating disorder fast, literally within days. and I'm about to share with you what it is. Ah, are you excited to hear it? So basically it's again the same principles as I used when I was taking drugs, is just to stay calm. And this is the reason why I insist on doing the tips all in order, what I've been sharing so far, because it would be easier for you to do this tip, because you're already used to your meditation, you're already used to not reacting at certain situations. Look at the tips before if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it is all led to this point right now. Honestly, if you just did these things, you can literally stop binging on crap food now, literally within days. So let's say, for example, you've had a really bad situation and you're feeling sad, or you're feeling stressed, or you're just at home really bored, and you know there's like crap food in the cupboard, and it's calling you, and you know you're not hungry because you've probably eaten lunch or you've had your dinner, or you are hungry but you just don't want to eat a normal like nutritional food. You just want to pig out on crisps or things that are really bad for you, like not good for your body. So staying calm is the first thing, because when you're staying calm, you can just pause for a moment. And I've shared with you tips about postponing the feeling, but this is just stop in your tracks and just sit there. And it actually is better if you're not in that starving position anyway. But yes, so that urge that you have for the foods that aren't healthy, just do not react straight away. Stop, and then just pause, stay calm, and then close your eyes and just listen. Okay, I know it's going to sound really weird. You're thinking, listen for what? Because it's so friggin' hilarious. It's probably not going to be funny for you the first few times you do it, but when you stop exactly where you are, away from the cupboard, away from the fridge, away from the places that it's drawing you in, sit down, close your eyes and listen. Listen to the voices in your head about the food. And what I'm talking about, things like, it's saying, I want that biscuit. I want that packet of crisps that's half opened in the cupboard. I want that half-eaten cheesecake. I need it. I can't. And you might even feel a physical sensation when you're being pulled to these foods. And I want you to just sit there and listen and observe it. Okay, and it sounds, you might think, well, there's a lot easier than said. But the thing is, at the same time, remind yourself that that part of you, even though it's your voice, it is not you. Okay, when you've got these voices in your head, remind yourself that is not you. Okay, so those voices are your reptile, your monkey brain, the things, like I call it the monkey brain, but basically it's really your subconscious mind have got into this habit, and it's got used to you reacting every time it has the urge. So without really making this video long, all you need to know right now is those voices is not you. the part of you that doesn't want to eat those biscuits, and the part of you who wants to be healthy, who wants to stay slim, who wants to have fun with the girlfriends out, who wants to wear that dress that you haven't worn for ages, who wants to look great in the bikini. That is you. You don't want that cake or that biscuit. And that's what I want you to sit there when you listen to those voices and just say, that's not me. That's not me calling. That is my monkey brain. That is the part of me that is not developed. Now, this is like our natural survival instincts, but we all know that we don't need those foods to survive. And then the second part of that is using some things in tip number 2 that I shared with you, reframing the way that you talk to yourself by saying, I could have those things also, but I prefer to fit into my jeans, and if I really respect myself, I will fit in those jeans, and I'm going on holiday soon, or whatever that's going to make you feel motivated. Just use tip number 2. Go back to that and you know what I mean. So kind of reframing yourself. And when you're sat there, it's going to feel tough because these urges feel like they're really you, but it's not you. Just remind yourself, it is really not you. The first couple of times that you do it, you almost feel like a physical pain, but this is different to willpower. The difference with this and willpower, you're kind of saying you can't, you're fighting against it. And I think I spoke about that on my previous video. You're resisting it, you're denying it, you're saying you can't, it's bad for you. We're not saying it's bad for you. Again, like, stop using but bad is unhealthy or anything like that. We just changing the way that we speak to ourselves, which is more exciting and more motivational for our minds, because when we're excited about things, we're more motivated by it. Willpower is demotivating. It actually makes us feel deprived, and we don't want to make us feel deprived. And the reasons why, because as soon as we feel deprived, that's it, our natural survival instincts kicks in, and no matter what you do, it's game over. You are basically taken over by the 90% of your mind. So by using this technique, you're not really fighting it. You're kind of saying, yeah, you know, like, you're riding the waves, you're feeling it and you're accepting it. You know, go back to the last video, accept these feelings are natural, but they're not you, okay? So the good news is, this is the most exciting part. It doesn't take long. It really, really doesn't take long before your mind starts to quieten down. So after you've done this a few times, the more and more times that you ride the waves, the easier it will become. Honestly, the first couple of times, a few times, it might be a struggle. I think I'm not too sure whether I shared it on like in this series, but I know before that there's like an alternative. Instead of maybe sitting here and riding the waves, maybe postponing it. I think I did actually, like, maybe in tip number 2, reframing, just say I could have it tomorrow. Postpone it as long as possible, because the idea is, with all the tips that I'm sharing with you, if you can postpone the urges, the more often you do not react to these strong urges to sweet things or to foods that are really not nourishing your body, not getting you to that place where you can be your natural, healthy, naturally slim self, you know. So all these foods, that the longer that you refrain from eating them, eventually you're not going to fancy them. And I tell you what, like today I was like a little bit stressed out with work, and for me it's like autopilot as well. I go in the cupboards and thinking, what can I eat, because that's kind of like you know, something that was a natural habit of mine. But I find now I open the cupboards and I'm like, it's actually really annoying because I'm like, oh, I don't fancy a biscuit, you know. So I really had to deal with my stresses, and I realised, oh, it's because I'm just really stressed out because I couldn't deal with the issue. But I didn't end up eating a biscuit only because I just didn't fancy it. And wouldn't that be great if you just didn't fancy biscuits? Because after all, if you didn't fancy eating junk food, foods that doesn't make you feel good, doesn't make you healthy, wouldn't it just be so easy? So anyway, that is basically the miracle tip of all. If you can nail this, I guarantee you, you just don't need to diet anymore. Really, there's no need for restricting, because your taste buds will come back and you'll just naturally crave for foods that will nourish your body. So that is basically it. Yahoo! So I hope you really enjoyed that tip, and I hope you can try implementing that, because I tell you what, it has saved me from my years and years of eating disorder. And I wish somebody had told me literally earlier. I had to read a gajillion books and, you know, a psychology and brain in the end to figure this out, because no diet ever told you to sit there and listen to your cravings. Like, I've never heard of it. It's literally always calorie counting, get your points, your red, green and days, you know, all that friggin' malarkey. No, literally it's just a habit. I just need to stop it. So anyway, I'm gonna sign off and I'm gonna say good night to my daughter, because I think she's still trying to wait up for me. Okay, so until, what day are we on? Tuesday, Thursday. Oh, I think we're almost at the end of the mind hacks, and we can start implementing some physical hacks in the next part of the series. So until next time, next on Thursday, have a lovely evening.